that's really important to me. But I could go on. I mean, let's say the Philip Gaston, greasy, Ku Klux Klan painting, like via, let's say, cartoons. That's a really American thing too, because you know, through cartoon and sitcoms, you can tell the truth, but through other means you can't. You know, you don't find the public, let's say, or somehow you think they are public, but the public is in the back. You know, you don't know. It's a kind of strange situation. So he that was carrying the material and pictorial model of abstract expressionism could do those paintings. And I don't like all the work of Gaston, but there is a certain pictorial model and subject is really strong. Or polka concentration camp pieces. The alchemy. There is all these pictures of sad and terrible things that happen. Respectful. I mean, I don't admire so much the famous October of Richter, for instance. I mean, I understand them, but I was never interested in the fact that, again, Gerhard Richter is an archivalist. He doesn't want to put the finger into, he doesn't want to do the abstract with that thing into the photograph. He wanted to be as close to the photograph with the murky blur and all that, and he ended up being, it had no tension. It becomes like a dubious exercise. I mean, the ethics of the series is dubious, and that was probably his emphasis, because he's a really dubious painter. But
you know, it was shown here in the same place.
Yes, of course. And I love them. I mean, I totally like them. But you know, I think that by liking something, we can criticize it.
Yeah.
And that's really important, you know, because we make it alive. But polka, I mean, those concentration camp of polka, they're really hardcore painting. They're alchemical, they are miserable, they are wonderful realist paintings. I mean, they are really, really incredible. And Lion Bolu, there's some paintings of Lion Bolu that the assimilation of the dead squads in Latin America in relation to the scratching of painting. There is an interesting technical back and forth situation. That's quite interesting. That's one of the things that I remember now.
I mean, when I look to this Jim Jones painting, these figures in the back, they remind me a lot of Goya figures.
I mean,
did you think about it when you made it?
I mean, as a painter, I really love Spanish painting, Italian and Spanish painting, and I would say that they have been, well, especially now that most of Spanish artists are conceptual artists. You know, somebody has to do something with the legacy of Spanish painting. I mean, so then you have a Bacon trying to do Velázquez, and then you have, you know, I think that even Polke, quote literally in some paintings, Goya is there. You know, when you try to, you know, to test certain things, you cannot. You have to remember the Spanish Armada. There's no way out, you know, because there is a certain thing that happened in Spain. There is a certain moment in the Dark Ages that is talking about real. I mean, the Islamic thing, the Jewish thing, the Catholic thing. There is a kind of engine there that in the kind of protestization of the war we want to forget, but it's there. try not to forget that. You know, I try to give account of that. It happens in Mexico too, and in the legacy of you know, of Hispanics is in Picasso and so on.
If you think of the whole series you did, can you tell? I mean, you told already about some decisions, but in general, are there subjects that you would say I cannot paint this? This is a subject which is impossible to paint, or which do you need to find images that you would say, oh no, I cannot use this image for any reason, for a certain reason. Can you tell about this process?
That's difficult. I mean, I would say that, like I said before, that the subjects kind of look, you know, I am, let's say, as a painter, I'm in a community of events, let's say. I don't find myself being a painter, and I mean, I have pictorial means, so I am like anybody else in society that get in a process of subjectivation, like, you know, Foucault defined, Jean-Michel Foucault. So the subjects look for me, in a way, they resonate in me. So Waco, there's a relation of expression, waking up, indignation, rage, all kinds of things that happen there that are part of them. And sometimes, like for instance, this painting, for instance, the breaking news, I got to a critical point with CNN. You know, like when there's a mouse, there's a fly going around you, and it's and in a moment you just have to kill it. Even if you're, I don't know, like an animal, you are in animal protection or whatever, you settle to kill the fly. And you make peace because you redeem yourself. You have to do it. That was the moment with CNN, because there was such a level of ungratefulness that CNN was during the time of the Bush administration, that I could actually have I think I was like, oh my God, they're giving an official break when Obama got into power. But it keeps being really bad and really sneaky. And there was like, at least they will actually go a little bit more into a real point of view. But they kept doing it. And in the moment of the Fukushima accident, I decided to do that painting. Because it was almost like my level of indignation, and at the same time I have a feeling that my level of being human right there in Earth at that time got to that mass moment. But that, you know, we all have intimate moments like that where we freak out about something or we love. So it's not really special that I have that moment. But the important thing is, like, I decided to do it, and I find a pictorial way to do it. And like one of the person that saw the painting, I remember I said like, oh my God, it looked like the pixels of this painting are like just jumping at you. And I said, yeah, that's what it is, you know. That how a painting could actually almost attack your retina, could be hyper retinal in a way. And that's what it was. And at that moment, it was, I mean, I remember I shoot a picture of with my iPad, and I was looking at it. I could not, you know, like it was the Japan disaster, and this sort of like, oh my God, we forgot about the nuclear. We thought that we were thinking about a dirty bomb and getting paranoid about all these things that they sell you all the time. And the Wall Street was telling down. Everything was freaking out. So it was like almost like a mediatized, archetypical moment of powerlessness. Like a moment, I call it post-Bible, let's say, where you as a person cannot find a place on earth, let's say. So there are people in survival, meaning like the people in our sweatshops, something like that. But then on our Western place, we are in the moment of being pushed to a post-vival situation. So, where is the place? A way of doing the painting was to render that in a way.
Yeah, in fact, it became the opposite of the image that you used, you know, because it's attacking you at one hand, and on the other hand, it's completely still, standing still.
Yeah.
So it's frozen. So it makes it more cruel in a way.
Yeah. I mean, that's the transmutation of a medium in a way. So yeah, I mean, each subject is a different type of story in a way, or the Ruby Ridge. I mean, I was really interested in tracking this problem of the militia movement in America during the 90s and how it's switching from vernacular militias to the Arab militias. And that was kind of interesting to me, how there was a possible forms of life. And I'm really interested because, you know, in the case, in the sense of, like, literally using in the Agambenian, Giorgio Agamben talks about no style of life, but forms of life. How we could create forms of life. And it's interesting that this thing, the Waco, the militia, they are not upshots of Wacos, let's say. They are like constituencies and sensibilities and possible realms that are developing. And they are destroyed or let be. In general, in our time, they are destroyed or generated or neutralized or reorganized through ways into the mainstream. And you know, the idea of the Jones, for instance, is actually something that is like an incredible historical event. In the end of the community, the alternative community, it's almost like the other side of the utopia. It's like the dystopia par excellence. Because it's this man that carries this mass revolutionary suicide. And of course, it's, you know, now it's debated because obviously there was a lot of people that have been, you know, obligated to commit suicide. But it just of such a strange reality to get to that point. You know, and it happens. So, I mean, in my question, we're supposed to be spending a lot of time studying that subject, not just forgetting it as a sort of, as we forget things, or as we cover these things and become non-important. Because in that way, violence and or horror and all that get constantly reproduced and recovered and so on. I'm actually making a painting to keep working with this group about the drones, you see, because I'm really following the subject of the drone as the last stage, a military stage, as you know, military models deal with, you know, relay and dialogue with art models. And the drone, you have the ready-made in military ways.
Yeah.
You see, the radio control, the fact that you have a control in your hand and you switch channels, you can have a machine that will go kill people without the guilt of disintegrating people. That is another level of violence, of clear violence, or what Baudrillard calls it, the transparency of evil.
So you will continue this series?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
How many works are you thinking about?
Well, again, the subjects call me, so I cannot push them. They're really organic. So I have a painting of the drone. I have a painting of the Lorraine Motel. I was wanted to paint a painting about the site of the assassination of Martin Luther King. And why? And what? And it's a pretty interesting, and the pictorial model that I have deals with the problem of religion and the place between. I want to make the painting that is conscious technically about light and shadows, about claroscuro, granite in relation to the taking away of one of the more amazing figures in American history, the dying of an utopia, the turn between race and class, and the not possibility for the status quo to approve the ethnic, but not to approve the class struggle. So obviously that's too much to ask for a painting, but it's possible to suggest those things in pictorial terms, and that's the battle that I have with that painting. And I'm making a painting about the porno industry too. That is one of the biggest, the military industry, the media industry, and the porno industry are one of the more important sources of money in America right now. So military.
You have used porn images in your earlier works.
Constantly.
In a small scale.
Yeah, because pornography is an escalation. To me, a painting like the Olympia is a pornographic painting of Manet. And then it goes into different things, like let's say pornographic paintings of Barbardi, Warhol, a lot of people, Satirizzali. It's not, the subject is the erotic and the trafficking of bodies, and the industrialization of pornography, or the value of the social worker side of pornography, the human treat, the slavery treat, all the elements of what pornography is. The trafficking of desire, let's say, of stable desire, the racial connotation. It's a huge debate. But this painting is about the making of pornography in the LA Valley, let's say. Yeah. That is the other side of Hollywood. That to me is really important. Because if you don't make it in Hollywood, you have the other one. And it's almost like A or B.
I read it's almost the same budget.
Yeah. A or B. They go A or B. And they were B for a while, and then it used to be that A and B didn't touch, and now there is a little traffic because people start saying like, well, if you maybe you have a little bit of B, and you get an interesting like porno video, and it's kind of now it's like almost like getting there. It's like a Babylonizing, let's say. Babylon plays with the promised land there. So that, and then some other paintings.
There's one point I want to ask you about, because when you talk about Martin Luther King and the site where he was shot, there's a photograph of Joel Sternfeld who did this same situation. Did you see this? What is it?
The one pointing? The one that is pointing?
No, it's just the side. Just this. It's very ordinary middle class house, and there's almost nothing to see. And what is interesting in Joel Sternfeld's text is the same important as a photo itself.
Right.
And that is the start of my question for your works, because I mean here you have different types of, let's say, visual memory. I mean, when you see the Fallujah painting from afar, you have maybe the image in your back. You can find it in the internet. It's also true with Michael Jackson painting. But for example, these two paintings here, one is Ruby Ridge, and the other one is Waco. I mean, they are really abstract in the sense that they don't show anything of what was going on there. I mean, you can of course imagine the fire, but it's not necessary. You can, if you read the title Waco, you can imagine that. But it's even stronger in this window piece. You know, there is just this small detail of this hole in the ground. So that is for me an interesting point. I mean, how much your paintings can show about the reality you are dealing with.
Well, that's actually, you know, it always like it deals with so much distance, let's say, and I think that there is always a kind of a multiplicity of things that humans do in relation to an event. Like, you know, you can get a souvenir or something. Like, you know, let's say, there was this great piece representing Mexico in the last biennial of Teresa Margulis, that it was a big controversial thing because she picked up all kinds of things in Mexico that were like part of the drug war. But if you didn't know, you got like glass, and you know, yeah, well, somebody died there. You know what I mean? I mean, you have to know that kind of thing. That's what I say that because this is sort of like I don't mind the distance of. I mean, I'm making a pictorial rendering, let's say, and that piece, for instance, if you sort of know, there is so much kind of in relation to the trigger of the title. Immediately you have the whole situation that you realize that detail, that piece of, let's say, almost like a piece of the cabin, was literally put on the trial to prove that the wife of Randy Weaver was shot through that hole. So there is a lot of information that we used to have, let's say, in other times, you know, you got a painting and you have a sketch, and that was it, or print. But now we have all these scattered you'll be in contact with the Waco in, I don't know, like maybe 60 meters from the painting. And the fact that the fire is one of the heaviest things in the painting, that to me is a pictorial thought. And the landscape is almost passing through. So the ground, all that to me is the pictorial model. But what do I want to say? You know, I think saying it have nothing to do with it, because you know we all know that painting, you cannot turn painting into a pamphlet or into anything really. Painting always painting defend against conceptual art, defend even against the good painters. You know, painting is a really hysterical medium. That's why